What's good, everybody? It is Batman, and we're going to be doing a reaction today. It's going to be a DC reaction this time. As you guys can see the title of the video, well, you can't fully see it because I'm in the top left corner, but it's why Batman is DC's most intelligent man. And this is for like a YouTube channel called Variant the Podcast. Now, you guys are probably familiar with Variant Comics. It's a very successful big channel, an incredible YouTube channel. It has like about 2 million like subs. And basically, if you ain't watching Comic Historian or Comic Explained, then you're more than likely watching Variant Comics. They're literally the three biggest comic YouTube channels out there that I'm aware of. I'm not going to say they're the biggest. Maybe there's someone that's bigger. I don't know. If you guys know anybody, let me know in the comments down below. So there's a video I added to my watch later list a while ago because I was like, you know what? I'm curious. Let's see what this is about. You name it, whatever, right? And that's basically what we're doing here, and we're just going to be checking it out. I hope you guys enjoy, yeah, that's basically what we're doing from here. So let's get it. And as you guys can see on my hat, I'm wearing this in celebration for Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero. It's going to be coming out in a month from now. We are in October, right? Wait, excuse me. Fuck, I'm over here having like a freaking break. Yeah, I'm over thinking like, is it September or October? Not October. I'm tripping. Yeah. I was right. September. Okay, January. Yeah, August, September, October. Yeah, like I'm over here like losing my mind with these months. Time is just flying right now. As you guys can see, I'm a little baby face going on. I normally have like all my hair or whatever. My hair grows back really quick too. So yeah, I got a little baby face going on here. You know, I'm trying to look young and prime, ready to go. Background's a little slightly different. I decided to move my setup temporarily, but eventually I'm going to be going back to where I normally am, where you normally see the fucking crib in the background. I'm eventually going to get rid of that damn thing because I don't even use it. It just sits there, but I kind of like the theme, you know what I mean? Because it's kind of like a little prison that you have, and then basically, you know, for any like man-childs in my comments or haters, D-writers, whatever, just all around, right? Discord, you fucking name it. That's where they belong, bro. Whenever they bitch or talk shit, they're right behind me just crying like a little baby, you know? But anyways, enough being said. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Let's get it.
To the main meat of today's episode. Recently, we just did an episode on the 10 smartest humans in the DC universe.
That's right.
And if you watch that episode, you know number 2 was Lex Luthor and number 1 was Batman. Now, anyone who follows DC lore...
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, like, I think there was a good amount of time for when Lex Luthor was considered number 1 for, like, throughout comics continuity and whatnot and the canon storylines. But then eventually Batman was blatantly shown and emphasized to actually be above him, and it was corrected, and so on and so forth, and you name it. And as obviously this video was made 4 years ago, by the way, guys. So just I'm putting that out there. I'm gonna put the Variant Comics in the description down below as well if you guys want to check the YouTube channel if you've never seen them. And Variant, if you want to check this channel out, I'll put it in the description too. This is a different channel, but anyways, so. You know, that's kind of how it was. It was like Lex Luthor, and then it was Batman for a good while, and it just stayed Batman forever and ever. And we even had like a Batman Who Laughs versus Lex Luthor show off, which is kind of the closest you're gonna get to Batman versus Lex Luthor in like a legit way. And obviously Batman won. Now, to be fair, you could be like, oh, that doesn't count because it's Joker and Batman, right? But at the end of the day, bro, it's still fucking Batman. The only difference is just Joker's, you know, maniac fucking tendencies being involved as well, and him just not holding back and killing, basically, right? And just being chaos. It's still Batman, you know? But anyways, and there's been tons of comic storylines and like tons of times where Batman has had his conflict with Lex, and Batman always comes out on top too. So like it's always interesting even throughout the era of when like Lex Luthor was technically the smartest, right? You know what I mean? But yeah, it was kind of always shown the other way around, or was that really the case? You know what I mean? It was very heavily put into question. But it is what it is, you know what I mean? But yeah, Lex was it for a good while, or at least from what we had at a certain point through the comic storyline, because there's so many reboots, you know what I mean? Because again, you got New 52, Rebirth, the list goes on and on, you know? But yeah, that is correct. And then as of now, that is very fair to do, though. To have Batman and Lex as 2, Batman as 1, I would absolutely agree with that. Now, to say as of now, to this day of in 2024, I'm sorry, I can't speak on that. You know what I mean? Because I'm so bro. Ever since I went heavy into the gaming side of things for the YouTube channel and to even focus on Naruto stuff, I literally just left DC and Marvel. Like, I'm just so behind. I just, you know what I mean? I would literally have to like catch up, you know what I mean, on one of the comic YouTube channels, and it's there's a lot, you know what I mean? So you know, so it's unfortunately, you know, life is you know, you don't got all the time in the world, man. The days go by quick, so I got to kind of prioritize what I'm gonna do with my time. But anyways, let's get into the video.
And canon from the main DC continuity, Earth Zero, knows that Lex Luthor is number one. So some people may be like, why the heck did you all put I said you all. I've been in Texas way too long. Did you guys?
Well, you said it properly. You said you all as opposed to y'all.
Yeah. All right.
So it wasn't too far Texas.
All right.
Let's speed this up too.
Anyways, like, why did you guys put Batman number one when clearly people like Jeff Johns and other writers over the course of time have stated that Lex Luthor is the smartest human in the DC universe? Well, we explained a little bit in that episode why. We gave a reason for it and even an example, but we thought it'd be fun to kind of talk about it a little more in depth here. So
yeah, we broke with canon, which, you know, obviously people do, but, you know, we just thought it'd be fun to elaborate further because there are specific reasons why we broke with canon, and you know, obviously the main brain trust of like people like Jeff Johns, who clearly have stated in recent years that Lex Luthor is the number one guy. And based on more recent events, at least for me, is why I would tend to disagree with that. So yeah, it's just, I mean, that's what these podcasts are for.
It's very interesting though too, because I love the example basically that we gave everyone in that episode was pretty much like, it basically comes down to like heroes have limitations to a certain extent, right? Because they have a moral code they have to stick to. So whether you can't lie, cheat, and steal, right? Even though like you can't do whatever it takes to win. Where people like Lex Luthor or a villain, they don't have any rules. That's kind of why we're kind of fascinated with villains in general, right? Because I know a lot of writers say it all the time that they have, you know, they're more excited about writing the Joker than writing Batman, which is why we've been getting so many freaking Joker stories recently. Because if it's the first time writing, you know, a character like Batman, you want to write a just as iconic character like the Joker because he doesn't have limitations like Batman does. But to that point, basically what it kind of came down to, which I think makes perfect sense, is Batman doesn't kill, right? Where Lex Luthor can do whatever the heck he wants. He can use his brains to think of some supersonic bomb to detonate make him win somehow. Where Batman, although he could, he never would because he's a hero. So basically, just on that principle alone, where yeah, Lex is smarter, but maybe that's just because
That's a really good argument, you know what I mean? Because Batman's always holding back. He technically limits his intelligence capacity because he can't kill no matter what at the end of the day. Whenever he does any plans, contingencies, whatever, he has to do it along the lines of incapacitating someone or restraining them. You know what I mean? He can't just risk the potential of killing them or actually killing them. You know what I mean? He could easily do that if he wanted to, but he can't. That's the problem, you know? And that is an edge and an advantage Lex would have, you know? So that would make sense to why, you know, Lex could technically be the most intelligent because he doesn't have those restraints, you know? But that's a fair argument.
Batman wouldn't do the stuff that Lex is willing to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's, and it's also one of those things too where yes, people like Jeff Johns has stated that, but it's also this weird line because you know me, I'm a really big continuity junkie and stuff like that. Like I'm like, well, especially if Jeff Johns said it, and yes, but there is this gray area where like any writer, you know, coming onto a character with DC's permission can change things. You know what I mean? So just in like the snap of a finger, with him writing like a 2 sentences of dialogue, now this person is the smartest character because he said it, and since that's more current, that's the new canon. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like one of those things. And I know even outside of canon, I think everyone knows I'm a massive fan of Tom Taylor's Injustice run. He recently just said, now this is Elseworlds, right? So this is not canon, but it's still Batman, it's still Lex, it's still Superman, it's still all these characters. But in that run in Deceased, I forget what issue, I believe issue 3 or 4. I don't know. In the first original main Deceased run, Lex is asking in the Fortress of Solitude, he's like, I'm the smartest person, and then he stops and he goes, wait, is Batman dead? And then someone goes, yeah. He goes, okay, I'm the first smartest person in the world. But you know, saying that Batman's still alive, he's the second smartest person. So I think stuff like that's funny. It really kind of just goes from writer to writer. You know what I mean? And it just so happened that Jeff Johns was writing the main canon while Tom Taylor was writing an Elseworld story. But I'm sure if you put Tom Taylor on like a Superman book or a Batman book, he would be like, no, Batman is the smartest.
Yeah, that's another good point too. I know what they're referring to. That was back around the time where I was actually, you know, up to speed with things. It was when DC was doing their zombie comic storyline. And Lex literally dead ass said like, "Oh, is Batman dead?" You know what I mean? Okay, he is. Okay, that means I'm the smartest human as of now. You know what I mean? They're all kind of relying on him and what to do and yada yada. You know, so like, you know, at the end of the day, that just kind of goes to show you. And Batman, on the other hand, like he could have dealt with it and probably been everyone's saving grace, but unfortunately, he was caught slipping by the Bat Fam with like one of his blind spots in a sense. And you know and that was it. And the zombie storyline for DC is very dark. Everybody basically dies. Spoiler alert, but everyone I'm not gonna say who. I'm not gonna say everybody, but a lot of people die. Okay, and if Batman wasn't able to save the day, and then even Lex, while having the time to prep, and he couldn't save the day, I think that goes to show. You know what I mean? Like clearly their intelligence being at least in a relative sense as well. You know what I mean? I won't say like Batman completely cliffs Lex Luthor, but they are in a similar sense. You know, so that there's that as well. Now, if my memory is correct, I think Batman had a little bit amount of time of trying to figure out a cure or a way to help with the disease, whatever. I think he did. I know he had a bunch of contingency plans in place as well, just in case there was ever outbreaks or zombies or whatever, and he absolutely made sure any speedsters or the Flash were away at all costs because otherwise the world is doomed, you know? but again, just want to kind of put that out there. Like, Batman is above, and he will always like beat Lex when it comes to a battle or a chest or whatever. He has defeats, even blatantly as today. But Lex is relative. Like, he's not just completely cliffed by Batman, you know. So
I just think it's funny how that works. Our fictional characters, so it's really right place, right?
Oh yeah, completely. And you know, Scott Snyder's another one who's proving that heads and tails right now.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly my feeling on it. As everyone knows, this was in the episode, but is that between heroes and villains, you have with villains, you know, they're just free completely. There's no restriction, there's no limitations, there's no moral code, there's no constraints on them.
Right.
So they're able to tap into, you know, in an evil way, whatever their potential is. Whereas heroes, I would say even more so.
I
human
volume
heroes,
like when
Batman,
Max, I don't know, I was like,
restringent
what the
guardrails
hell?
in place to keep themselves from going to darker places because they don't have some of the benefits and the luxuries that that a meta like Superman has, let's say, right? Where they can tap into power that is beyond anything human by light years, and they can put stop to things that, you know, no one single human being, you know, could. So human being as a human, Batman has to already be incredibly skilled, incredibly intelligent, and be thinking, you know, 10 steps ahead of everything. And then on top of that, push himself to the absolute uttermost limits to accomplish the things that he accomplishes. You know, especially regarding some things that for Superman physically might be a little bit easier to accomplish. So with him, when you see him go head to head with a character like Lex Luthor, like what we explained in the episode, with Apex Lex, you know, or Lex Luthor gaining powers from Perpetua and being granted basically becoming like a hybrid between Lex and Martian Manhunter and gaining Superman-esque powers. You know, we've even made the argument on the show that Martian Manhunter is as powerful as Superman almost. But you know, he's got all of this power on top of his intelligence, and then he goes head to head with the Batman Who Laughs, who is essentially a completely unrestrained, limitless in terms of any kind of tethering to a moral code of any kind or principle set. He goes head to head with him, and he gets straight up outsmarted, beat down, and left bare, just literally naked in a crater of what used to be LexCorp. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So you know, you see that for me, like that was such an awesome.
Yeah, that's what they're referring to as the Dark Knight's Metal event, and basically where the Batman Who Laughs becomes a multiversal threat, and eventually to be an omniversal threat if Wonder Woman was actually willing to cooperate with him. That's one of the crazy things. Like, they literally have a showdown, and we finally get the, like, with feats alone, who actually is the bigger dog, you know? And Batman blatantly just won. I mean, he's like, oh yeah, like, and there was like a whole emphasis. It was like, oh, who's smarter, right? Batman or Lex? That was the whole shtick of that whole event and writing and everything, you know? So blatantly, Batman just has it by feats in due time as well, regardless if you just want to, you know, argue between all the statements throughout all the fucking reboots and continuities and canon storylines, whatever you name it. But like, that's just absolutely without a doubt. And Lex had a lot of upgrades that they mentioned as well. He had the Martian Manhunter, the Superman he had all this stuff to where his intelligence was even enhanced to even more insane heights, yet the Batman Who Laughs could still beat him and outsmart him, whatever. Mind you, Batman doesn't have any crazy amps or hacks or whatever. It's literally just Batman, Bruce, but with Joker's insanity as well. You know, so like, that alone just goes to show you how ridiculous Batman is. Like, imagine if you gave Batman Brainiac intelligence or Martian or Superman and that even more levels of IQ emphasis. Like, the dude would be unstoppable, you know? So it's absolutely what they're referencing. Like, they clearly know what they're talking about, do their homework, and then you know, they know. So
way of Scott Snyder to say, yeah, it's Batman. It's Batman. You know what I mean? Yes, Lex Luthor is insanely intelligent, and this is a guy who, as a human being, has been just an absolute perpetual pain for a godlike being like Superman for years and years and years and years in comics, and has accomplished insane things. But in the end, it's Batman.
For sure. And what's crazy about that too is, you know, with Batman Who Laughs, he was just infected with the Joker toxin and became like crazy psychotic. It didn't give him any superpowers, right?
Exactly.
Like, it's not like it made him any smarter or anything. It just made him crazy, right?
Yep.
So where Lex Luthor,
it just lifted all those restraints.
Right. But Lex Luthor, imbued with now, like, you know, essentially like a Martian and stuff like that, and having all these powers, you could argue that it also enhances intelligence as well.
Your father knows about saving money. Everything I'm wearing, I've had since boot camp.
Shut the fuck up.
Absolutely.
You know, it wasn't really explored too much, but you could easily make that argument if like this is gonna make you stronger and you have all these powers. Clearly, you're gonna think a little faster and stuff like that. So it's also Lex was already like the smartest human dude on Earth, right? So now with these powers, that would elevate that even more, you would assume. But Batman, when let loose, which is all the Batman, that's what the Batman Who Laughs is just a let loose Batman, still was able to outsmart him and beat him. Literally a plan. And what's crazy about this too is this was like, it was all like strategically planned. You know what I mean? This wasn't like on a whim, like I'm gonna do it. Like more recently in the Death Metal Legends of the Dark Knight issue, the Batman Who Laughs actually talks about it, like how he had this plan set in motion a long time. Like he had this plan set up since Barbados, right? Like, and just one thing to another. He's like I knew once Barbados was gone that I wasn't gonna go back to the darkness. So I was like, hey, I'm just gonna usurp the right-hand man from Perpetua and then be by her side. That way I could rise with her. And, you know, he planted seeds and basically weaseled his way in there. So it's just crazy just how smart and how brilliant of a strategist Batman really is. Plus also, like, you would think too, like, obviously, again, it's been stated, you know, more than one times in canon that Lex is the smartest, but like, you would think just by all the stuff they do with Batman that would be the obvious choice. Like, any guy who has a contingency plan to take down pretty much every hero in his universe, you would think he's automatically the smartest dude, right? Because obviously Lex has done stuff like that. He's got contingencies and suits and kryptonite stuff about Superman and stuff. But like, Batman literally has a contingency plan for everything in every character. He's literally got a briefcase for like this, you know, the core 7 of the league with ways to defeat them. So just stat alone is kind of, it's a little weird when you really think about it that even people like Jeff Johns wouldn't say that Batman is. But I mean, at the same time, they're so close, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it can kind of go either way, so I can't even really be mad or argue it, because it's like, yeah, I mean, it's Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
yeah, that's something that Batman, Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor share. They share a lot of commonalities in terms of their intelligence, their forward thinking, how they plan their strategy.
Another crazy feat as well that Batman did as well, which you guys might be familiar with, is he surpassed and defeated Brainiac, which is 12th level intellect, bro. He outsmarted fucking Brainiac. Like, that's crazy.
Thinking 10, 12, 20 steps ahead of everyone, and so they're prepared for any eventuality all the time. That's kind of both characters, that's their MO. It's just with Batman, he's coming at it from a the hero standpoint, and Lex Luthor's coming at it from an evil villain standpoint. And even Lex Luthor, I mean, over the years, he has shown in multiple different storylines, he has a conscience to some degree.
Yep.
He's just a narcissistic megalomaniac, where he thinks that no matter what he does, he's doing the right thing. You know what I mean? So anything is justifiable in his mind. But when it comes to the Apex Lex, and this is why I say that particular instance, that was all about intelligence, because they show that the Batman who laughs is overwhelmed physically by Apex Lex. I mean, he's dominated essentially.
For sure.
There's no contest, because in the comic, I mean, he's essentially given godlike powers. Lex Luthor.
Well, he's the right-hand man's Perpetua, so he's like, yeah, he's up there.
Exactly. So it's not just like, oh, Martian Manhunter. I mean, he's imbued with power from an actual god. So he's got godlike powers.
Not just the god, the mother of the multiverse.
Exactly. So this is like an extremely overpowered
Mother
Lex Luthor,
of the multiverse.
right? So
Yeah, like that chick, the
dominant.
mother of the multiverse, she was an omnipotent being, dude. Like, she was no joke. She gave literally her power to Lex Luthor and made him become like this crazy hacks fucking powerful Martian on top with having her power as well, in a sense. So again, add that on top of the intelligence he already had. You know what I mean? Like, he has a severe crazy advantage in comparison, yet Batman still outsmarted him and beat him.
Dominates the Batman Who Laughs, who, as you said, there's no physical difference between the Batman Who Laughs and Bruce Wayne Batman. It's just that the Batman Who Laughs is a Jokerized Bruce Wayne. He's just crazy. But all the while, in the end, it turns out to be a chess game, and one that Batman, Bruce Wayne, an evil, unrestrained Bruce Wayne Batman, wins hands down, and literally leaves Lex Luthor just in the dust. And that is the biggest mic drop, like intelligence-wise, moment for Batman I've seen in a while.
Yeah, it's also a really current storyline. Like, that storyline, is only like that issue that you're referring to specifically is only like 3 months old, something like that, 4 months tops.
Here's another thing too. Like, so this blatantly, concretely shows obviously like a Batman with no restraints, evil, whatever, right? You name it, like, would clearly be obviously way beyond Lex. Now, if you want to make the argument to say Batman with the restraints and limits of not being able to kill whatever, the whole nine, you name it, if you want to say he wouldn't be able to do it because now he has limits, whatever, that's completely understandable and fair, and that probably would be the best way to advocate in defense for Lex or anyone else. But even then, that Batman, is just ridiculously smart and would probably beat Lex, because like, think of it this way, guys. Like, if you have Batman, okay, who's literally like at a severe disadvantage with Lex, with all this stuff that he had, right? Yet he still won. And yes, he didn't have restraints, whatever, right? He's crazy, blah blah, you name it, whatever. But here's the crazy thing: how he defeated Lex and outsmarted him, whatever, it had really nothing to even do with killing people, whatever. It was just simply him thinking outside the box and just winning the chess match, basically. You know what I mean? So, like, so again, like, if you kind of remove that, you could still basically advocate and say why Batman should be no different and be able to replicate the same thing, etc., etc. But to the contrary, you can maybe say, oh, morally, that might, where a Batman with limits and obviously being a hero, he probably might not go certain routes or whatever because of his morals and code and things like that too. So maybe not, and that would give the edge to Lex, but. So overall, like, there's contentiousness in that sense, but at the end of the day, it's Batman, bro. Like, he's no joke. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of what you're working with. And even though, like, it was in Elseworld comics, the DC thing, blah blah, whether it's canon or not, blah blah, the whole nine. I think that's not canon technically, but even in that story, like, it was blatantly said that, oh, Batman's above Lex. You know what I mean? And so on and so forth. So there's a lot. You know what I mean? There's a lot. You could still technically advocate for Batman still, even if he's not evil. You know what I mean? And again, he has plans for everybody, while Lex doesn't. You know what I mean? He just mainly focuses and prioritizes certain individuals. So, but
that was all leading up to death metal and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just crazy. And I'm also sitting here thinking too, like, of instances to kind of like, even to push more that like Batman can or is technically smarter, not to, be like, Jeff Johns was wrong, but because he certainly knows way more than I do. He's been writing these characters for decades.
No, let's start controversy. Let's stir the pot. You're so wrong, Jeff Johns. You don't know what you're talking about.
But Superman has stated in the comics. Now who's Superman's Joker? Like, who's his arch nemesis? Lex Luthor, right? So if anyone knows Lex Luthor, it's gonna be Superman, right? Like, Superman knows, he's always going head to head with him. It's like, it's the thorn in his side, right? But Superman has even stated before that Batman, not Lex, that Batman is the most dangerous man on the planet.
That's right.
Now, Superman fighting Lex and knows everything about him, you know, Lex is always, you know, scheming and attacking him, trying to do all this stuff because he believes that like a human should get all the glory, not this alien from another planet. So Superman just always in confrontation with him, you know, having all this stuff thrown at him, seeing him team up with Brainiac and stuff, seeing how dangerous Lex really is. He still says that Batman is the most dangerous man on the planet, and
this is true.
normal Batman.
That's
with a moral
canon.
code.
Normal.
This is Batman's doing everything that doesn't, you know, so Superman's never seen him with plans like kill anyone.
It's absolutely true. Another banger point that they're bringing up for Batman, that Superman still thinks Batman is the most dangerous person on the fucking planet. You know what I mean? And, you know, and still thinks out of anyone, mind you, he's engaged with Lex, Brainiac, all these insanely intelligent people, yet he thinks Batman is still the most dangerous. That's saying something, you know?
Or do anything like of that sort, and yet he's still saying he's the most dangerous man on the planet. So imagine, like you were just saying, like the whole Batman lifestyle, taking that moral code away, and now he can do anything. He can use his intelligence, his fighting skills, all of it to do whatever he wants. So I think that says a lot right there in itself.
I totally agree, and I also think that it interestingly speaks a lot to Clark and Bruce's relationship as well, in how Clark views Batman. It would be interesting. We should do another podcast just analyzing Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne's relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's also an incredible dynamic between those two. Because, you know, Superman's always kind of concerned about and looking out the corner of his eye at Bruce because he never really knows what he's going to do. And then it's the same exact way with Bruce, how he trusts and respects and relies on
He's
Clark.
like, what if?
But at the same time, yeah, he's always planning. Like, you just never know. This is basically a warehouse of nuclear bombs in a single body. You know what I mean? So he's always planning. So we should do a separate podcast just talking about the dynamics between Clark Kent, Superman, and Bruce Wayne, Batman. That would be a fun one to talk about as well.
Oh, for sure. There's a lot to get into there.
Oh, absolutely. But it definitely does, you know, with Clark's statement about Bruce, it does speak to that part that I just mentioned, where he just kind of, he's like, I respect this guy, I love this guy, I would trust this guy with my life. However, he's dangerous.
For sure.
And it's that's really fun character development and story relationship stuff there. But yeah, it definitely speaks to that relationship, but also directly to the fact that there's more to Bruce than what he allows himself to do under the cape and cowl.
For sure, and I think, you know, going off with Batman Last and stuff, Snyder, Josh Williamson, and Tynan, you know, that whole little group of writers have definitely proven that with all the Darkest Nights we've been getting, right? You know, from the first metal event and then the Death Metal event that's currently happening. Like, because what's really cool, what's really fascinating about it is that, like, you just see one thing go wrong in Bruce's past, like one little thing is different, right? And then it changes the course of everything. And now, you know, he becomes like a Dr. Manhattan Batman. It's like Batman Manhattan is what they're calling him, which I think is really funny, by the way, Batman Manhattan.
I want to say Tim. I'm Jack Black. Oh, that's it. Yeah. I'm not Jack Black.
But it rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, right. But it's just really interesting. It just speaks a lot to the character of Batman, of how versatile he is, because it's one of these, you could still be entertained by just doing little variants and changes to his past. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, now he was psychotic as a kid, or now, you know, this happened, so now he's imbued with the Speed Force, and all this kind of stuff. It's really telling to like how this character that Bob Kane, Bill Finger created so long ago is like, you know, was such a great concept. You know what I mean? Because you can't do that with every single. I mean, you can do it with characters like, you know, the Atom, or, you know, some of these, I don't want to say lower tier, but not like A-listers like Superman, the Flash, Wonder Woman. So it really says something that these core, like, you know, members of the Justice League, or especially the Trinity, how versatile they really are, right? That you could pretty much tell the same story just in a different way, and it's just as entertaining, if not more entertaining, because we're so used to seeing Batman for so long that it's fun to see a Batman who kills. It's fun to see a Batman that like has a Speed Force. It's fun to see a Batman that turned into like the God of War. You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
so it's what I'm saying is, I want to create a character that leaves a legacy like Batman.
Don't we all? Yeah, that is absolutely the hallmark of a really well constructed character. Bruce Wayne, you know, very similarly to you know, what we see with Red Son Superman, right? Where it's Clark Kent, but it's just that slight shift of what if instead of landing in the middle of, you know, the Midwest of the United States, he landed in Soviet Union.
Right.
You know, just these little alterations. What would that look? And then following that logic trail all the way to the end and letting that roll out kind of on its own as a storyline. And all of these different Batmans we're seeing is kind of the exact same concept. But it's just a marker of a really well constructed character at its core, that you can just change, you know, this piece or that piece, and it changes the landscape of that character's life in a way to where you're keeping some of the core elements, but it allows that character to explore other dynamics of how they would have reacted to these other you know, plot points that are introduced to their mythos.
It's one of those things, like, you know, people always, I think there's a lot to say to why, you know, these characters are so popular. It's like, you know, it's one of those things where, like, who's your favorite character? It's like Batman. It's like, of course, everyone's favorite, you know, character is Batman, but there's a reason to why the characters, like,
not everyone. Okay.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, Batman, I'm sorry, for DC, it's Batman's always a straight fucking go-to. It has to at least bare minimum be top 5 out of all characters, you know what I mean? And like, and then, or even top, you could say top 3, but if you're high ball, top 3, low ball, top 5 at least, you know what I mean? Like, come on, it's Batman. If it ain't Batman, then it's Superman. If it ain't freaking Superman, then, you know, it goes on from there, right? So Flash is another one, so.
Like, you know, Spider-Man, Superman, the Hulk, like, you know, they're always at the top. They're the A-listers, right? They're A-list characters, but there's a reason, because they're done so well and they're so compelling, and whether they're relatable or not, they're telling stories that, you know, hit with a majority of people, hence them being the fan favorite character. Right. So it's like, yeah, I know growing up, like, especially, you know, kids are like mean and rude, so it's like, of course Batman's your favorite character. How original. Of course Spider-Man's your favorite character. Everyone's favorite character is Spider-Man. But it's like, do you have to say, you know, do like a deep dive for like just to feel cool? You know what I mean? It's like, does it matter? Right. You know what I mean? It's like, clearly, if it's your favorite character, that just means the writer is doing their job. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Again, these characters have stood the test of time for a reason. You know, that's really just the bottom line. They're just really well done, really well constructed. And we've kind of gotten off on a tangent here a little bit, but these are just really well constructed as we do. But these are just really well constructed characters that we're going to continue to see great stories and great iterations of for a long, long time to come, and for good reason. So I'm looking forward to seeing how all of this death metal stuff continues to roll out and what Scott Snyder continues to do in terms of developing and rolling out and setting Batman's mythos in a new direction. But what they did with Apex Lex and so far with the Batman Who Laughs has added some really interesting dynamics to who Bruce Wayne is, who Batman is, and what they're capable of.
For sure. And you know what I was sitting here thinking, you know what kind of fits in with this too? Like the whole I'm Batman thing, right? Why? Because he's Batman. Like I know people, everyone says it, but and then some people frown upon it. But when you really think about it, it's the two words I'm Batman actually has a lot of weight to it.
Yeah.
Because that means so much more than just I'm Batman. Because like for people, for you to just say because he's Batman or because I'm Batman, that means he's done some stuff to prove it. That just his name alone means like, oh, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? It's almost like the whole John Wick thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, the Baba
Baba
Yaga.
Yaga, right? Where it's kind of like that effect. Like, oh, you mess with that guy.
Yeah,
It's kind of
no,
that
true.
whole thing where like I think it's really a testament to Batman's whole like determination and motivation too, especially coming full circle with the whole Batman Who Laughs. Because that was the alternate version of Bruce Wayne. It's still Bruce Wayne. It's just Bruce Wayne gone wrong. Bruce Wayne killed the Joker and then he turned into the Joker. But it's a testament to like how much drive he has. Because he wasn't always that smart. Sure, obviously to some degree you have to kind of have just that mindset. But he went out and got all that intelligence, traveled the world for years, and not just like mental intelligence. Obviously over 100 forms of martial arts, but also like forensics, criminology, all this stuff. And it's kind of one of those things where it just shows how the character of Batman, how Bruce Wayne is so devoted that if he sets his mind to something, it's gonna get done. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's obviously been pushed more so with Batman than even Lex, because we've got a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong, Lex is an A-list villain. Everyone knows Lex Luthor is.
Absolutely.
But we've gotten way more Batman stories still because he's Batman, meaning that kind of stuff has been explored way more with Batman than even Lex Luthor. So I think that's another point where if we were to go back, through comic history, we could pull way more examples and instances of why Batman is smarter than we can Lex Luthor. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Again, I'm not calling Jeff Johns out. I'm just saying there's an argument to be made there.
Yeah, sure. He knows what's up. He knows what's going on here. But no, it's absolutely true. And in regards to Batman, like we've seen demonstration over and over and over and over again throughout the Dark Knight's run in comics over the years. The fact that he has one of the strongest not just senses of willpower, but also that mental ferocity, where he is just in every way he is just determined to accomplish the task, and he will find a way one way or another. And so it's in those ways he's unmatched, I think, by any other character in comics.
For sure. I mean, that's one of the many reasons. I think it speaks a lot to him being human. That he's kind of like the example of like if you don't give up and you try and you pursue and you put the work and time in, that you could pretty much be anything you want. I think that's kind of like that's what Batman is at his heart, right? You know what I mean? He's just determination, for the right thing, and if you put in the work, you're gonna get the results.
So what you're saying is, be true to your heart.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, you'd be the best motivational speaker ever. The Rock who.
And we're also saying, ultimately, bottom line, Batman is the smartest man in DC Comics.
Boom. Controversy. Take it or leave it.
Come at us, bro.
Dude, I know we'll wrap it up here, but it is also kind of interesting to think that, like, we say it all the time in the show, but like how often intelligence, overcomes just brute strength. You know what I mean? Because people like Batman and Lex both fight gods, like literally gods. You know what I mean? Yep. And they often come out on top one way or another. So that just proves the point that if I had a genie and 3 wishes, I would ask for it to be the smartest person on earth and not the strongest person on earth.
Yeah, it really. I mean, and that's always true. Intelligence is always going to supersede brute force.
Are you saying that's why like the nerds in high school are now like the guys who get all the girls because they're the ones owning all the tech companies like Google?
That is a much bigger conversation for another time. But I will say it is why I love. It's another reason why I love the Hulk so much because he has untapped or limitless strength and brute force combined with incredible intelligence.
But they're like constantly battling each other on opposite ends, though.
Yes, but he's always it's that symbolism that we've talked about that constant battling against even your own strengths and finding that balance
until you get Smart Hulk, and then they're like, well, you get pretty much the best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds.
But I think that brings our discussion to a close for today's podcast.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think about our opinion of Batman being the smartest character in DC Comics over Lex Luthor.
For sure, I'm really curious because I know someone out of the woodwork is gonna be like, you're both wrong. It's Mr. Terrific, okay?
Without any
for sure. But with that said, guys, we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.
Yeah, no, not too bad. That's it's not too bad if I'm being honest with you guys. But yeah, like that's basically what you have for the most part. If you guys know any characters or anyone, just anything you could think of the top of your head in DC or anything that you think is even potentially even more up there than than Lex or Batman, whatever. Then let me know. And we're talking obviously like as of humans, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna say like out of everything, even though you could technically argue that as well, because I believe like Batman's had like feats or whatever to where like he's literally doing things that's impressing like the World Forger, and he's like, bro, like you're just built different intelligence wise, like no one has ever thought to do what you did, like you're just unbelievable basically. And then like he made like this crazy suit that could literally do anything, and so on and so forth. So like there's even arguments to even say out of everything Batman, but let's kind of calm down, right? You know what I mean? Let's take a little chill pill, because obviously if we're counting everything, which would be like the Presence, which is literally the god for the DC universe, and then everyone around that, whether if they're omnipotent beings and so on and so forth, when you start getting around all of that, that's when it's like, hey, wait a minute, you know what I mean? Like so like I'll be real with you, I'd say like a Batman that has no restraints or no morals or whatever, and just simply no code, which the closest you get to that is the Batman Who Laughs. I would say he probably has the best chance to beat omnipotent beings and and to outsmart or do whatever. Like, think of it this way: if Thanos can be able to do that to omnipotent beings in Marvel, come on, Batman's probably gonna be able to do the same exact thing. If I'm being real with you, you know what I mean? Like, he'll probably be able to do the same thing, you know? So that's all I'm getting at. But yeah, you know, so that's basically all I have. But yeah, if you guys have anyone else you want the honorable mentions or anything like that, or better yet, what's your top 10 list? You know, let me know. I'm not gonna pretend I'm like a god with DC, like how good I am when it comes to Naruto, and things like that. But you know, I know a good amount. You know what I mean? I'll say that. I know a good amount. But as always, guys, if you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts down below, subscribe for more content of the channel. Batman out. Peace.